In the annals of history, few events have captured the imagination as the Battle of Thermopylae. A time when the world was a vast and mysterious place, a stage for epic tales and grand narratives. The 5th century BC was a period of immense change. It was an era of burgeoning empires and ambitious rulers. One such ruler was King Xerxes I of Persia, a man whose power was steeply on the rise and whose ambition knew no bounds. Under his rule, the Persian Empire expanded, its borders stretching farther than any before it. His aim? To unite the world under one banner, his banner. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Aegean Sea, the Greek city-states were going through a transformation of their own. Independent and fiercely proud, they were unaccustomed to cooperating with one another. Yet, the looming Persian threat forced them to put aside their differences. An alliance was formed, a coalition of city-states, each contributing their warriors to the cause. This was a new chapter in Greek history, a demonstration of their ability to unite for a common cause. The stage for this epic confrontation was the pass at Thermopylae. A narrow strip of land between the mountains and the sea, it was a strategic choke point, where a smaller force could hold off a larger one. The Greeks, led by King Leonidas of Sparta, chose this place to make their stand. It was a choice of tactical brilliance, a testament to their understanding of the terrain and the art of war. The Persian force, vast and formidable, marched towards Thermopylae, confident in their numbers and the might of their empire. The Greeks, vastly outnumbered yet unyielding, prepared to meet them. The tension was palpable, a quiet before the storm, as both sides knew that what would follow would be a battle of not just arms but of wills. As the Persian army approached, the stage was set for a battle that would echo through the ages. At the heart of this battle stood a mere 300 Spartans led by King Leonidas. Now, the Spartans were no ordinary warriors. They were born and bred for war, raised in a society that valued martial prowess above all else. From a tender age of 7, Spartan boys were taken from their homes and put through a rigorous regimen known as the agoge. This was not just training in the art of combat, but a complete lifestyle that instilled in them the values of discipline, endurance, and most importantly, the ethos of never retreating from a battle. It was said that a Spartan mother would hand her son his shield before going to war and tell him, "Return with this or on this," signifying that they'd rather have their sons dead than deemed a coward. And leading these hardened warriors was King Leonidas, a man of immense courage and strategic genius. He was not just a king, but also the embodiment of Spartan values, a living testament to their way of life. His leadership and the unwavering spirit of his men made them the backbone of the Greek defense against the Persian onslaught. Yet, it would be a disservice to overlook the other Greek allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with the Spartans at Thermopylae. Apart from the Spartans, there were 7,000 other Greeks from various city-states. These included 400 Thebans, 700 Thespians, and warriors from Corinth, Phlius, and other parts of Greece. Each had their own reasons to fight, but all shared a common goal: to defend their homeland against the invaders. These were men who lived and breathed for war, ready to face the Persian horde. They stood firm, knowing the odds they were up against, yet never wavering in their resolve. Their story is not just one of heroism and courage, but also a testament to the indomitable spirit of mankind when united in a common cause. Indeed, these were the heroes of Thermopylae, men who lived and breathed for war, ready to face the Persian horde. The Persian army arrived at Thermopylae, vastly outnumbering the Greeks. Imagine, if you will, an ocean of warriors, a sea of gleaming armor and sharp spears under the burning midday sun. That was the sight that greeted the Greeks when the Persians arrived at Thermopylae. The Persians, led by King Xerxes, were a formidable force, their numbers so vast they seemed to swallow the horizon whole. Yet the Greeks, under the leadership of King Leonidas of Sparta, did not falter. They knew the terrain like the back of their hands, and they were prepared. They had chosen to make their stand at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, a strategic decision that would prove crucial in the battle to come. As the Persian army advanced, the Greeks held their ground. The initial Persian attacks were fierce, wave after wave of warriors charging forward, their war cries echoing off the mountains. But the Greeks, standing shoulder to shoulder, their shields interlocked, held firm. They had formed a phalanx, a tactical formation as old as warfare itself. This wall of shields and spears was a formidable barrier that the Persians found difficult to penetrate. The Greek strategy was simple, yet effective. The narrow pass of Thermopylae allowed them to funnel the Persians into a tight space, neutralizing the numerical advantage of the Persian forces. Moreover, the phalanx formation, with its layers of shields and spears, created a formidable front that could withstand the Persian onslaught. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Greek defensive strategy was working. The Persians threw themselves against the Greek phalanx time and again, only to be repelled with heavy losses. The Greeks, despite being vastly outnumbered, held their ground. The Persians had come expecting an easy victory. They had come with overwhelming numbers, confident in their might. But they had not accounted for the Greeks' courage, their determination, their clever use of the terrain, and their mastery of the phalanx formation. This was not just a battle. It was a clash of titans. On one side, the mighty Persian Empire, the most powerful force in the world at the time. On the other, the city-states of Greece, small in number but fierce in spirit. The Greeks were fighting not just for their lives, but for their freedom, their culture, their very way of life. The Battle of Thermopylae was a testament to the power of strategy over numbers, of courage over fear, of determination over despair. It was a battle that would be remembered for centuries to come, a battle that would inspire countless others to stand their ground no matter the odds. Despite their numbers, the Persians found themselves unable to break the Greek defense. This was a true testament to the Greeks' resilience, their strategic brilliance, and the indomitable spirit that would become a hallmark of their civilization. Scene script. Yet, as the battle raged on, a local resident named Ephialtes saw an opportunity to alter the course of the battle. It was Ephialtes, a Trachinian, who saw a chance to change the tide of the battle. Unbeknownst to the Greeks, Ephialtes harbored a desire to earn favor with the invading Persians. He was willing to betray his homeland for personal gain, a choice that would forever mark him in history as a traitor. Ephialtes approached the Persians with a proposition that, if successful, would outmaneuver the Greeks. He revealed to the Persians a narrow mountain path, known as the Thermopylae, which wound its way behind the Greek lines. This path, concealed and unknown to the Greeks, would allow the Persians to encircle their adversaries, catching them by surprise and dismantling the Greek defense. On a moonless night, the Persians, guided by Ephialtes, embarked on this treacherous path. As dawn broke, the Persians had successfully navigated the path and were now positioned behind the Greek lines. The Greeks, oblivious to the betrayal, were about to face an unexpected onslaught. The Persians launched their surprise attack. The Greeks, taken aback, found themselves surrounded. The fierce warriors who had held the pass so valiantly were now encircled, caught between the Persian forces at the front and the rear. The familiar terrain which had been their advantage was now a trap. The tide had indeed turned. The Greeks fought bravely, but the strategic advantage was now with the Persians. The Greeks were outnumbered and outflanked. The Persians, emboldened by their successful maneuver, fought with renewed vigor. The Greek shield wall, which had been unbreakable, began to falter under the relentless Persian assault. The Greek commanders quickly realized the dire situation they were in. Their forces were surrounded and escape seemed impossible. The hope of victory, which had been so palpable, now seemed a distant dream. The morale of the Greek warriors, once high, started to wane as they saw the Persian forces closing in from both sides. And yet, despite the odds, the Greeks did not surrender. They fought with the courage and honor of warriors, refusing to yield. They stood their ground, determined to protect their homeland, even if it meant paying the ultimate price. The betrayal of Ephialtes had indeed changed the course of the battle. The Greek defense, once solid and unyielding, was now crumbling under the Persian onslaught. The Greeks had been outmaneuvered and outflanked. The tide of the battle had turned, and the outcome seemed inevitable. With the Persians closing in from both sides, the Greek fate was sealed. Leonidas, realizing the end was near, made a decision that would immortalize him and his men in history. As dawn broke on the third day, there was a certain stillness, a sense of impending doom that hung over the battlefield. The Spartan king, Leonidas, knew well that their position had been betrayed and the Persians were closing in. Yet instead of retreating, he chose to stay, to fight, to make a stand. Leonidas and his men, 300 Spartans, along with a handful of Thespians who refused to leave, prepared for the final battle. They tightened their grip on their spears, adjusted their bronze helmets, and stood a wall of defiance against the coming storm. Like a dark tide, wave after wave of Persian soldiers crashed against the Spartan shield wall. The Spartans fought with a ferocity born of desperation and courage, their spears finding their marks, their shields turning aside the Persian onslaught. Each Spartan was a whirlwind of destruction, yet for every Persian that fell, 10 more took their place. The battle raged on, the day wore on, and one by one, the valiant Spartans fell. Leonidas, fighting at the forefront, was among them. His death, however, did not signal defeat, but rather it spurred his men to fight even harder, their roars of grief and rage echoing across the battlefield. In the end, they were overrun, but their sacrifice was not in vain. The rest of the Greek forces, given the precious time by the Spartans, were able to retreat and regroup. The Battle of Thermopylae was lost, but the war was far from over. The Spartans had shown that the Persian Empire, mighty as it was, could be resisted, could be fought. Though they fell on that day, the Spartans' stand at Thermopylae became a symbol of courage against overwhelming odds. Their sacrifice, their courage, their refusal to yield in the face of certain death became an enduring testament to the indomitable spirit of mankind. The Battle of Thermopylae ended in a Persian victory, but it was a victory that came at a high cost. The aftermath of the battle painted a grim picture of the Persian forces. The Persian king Xerxes had gained a Pyrrhic victory. Yes, he had won the battle, but the cost was far too high. Thousands of his best soldiers lay dead on the battlefield, slaughtered by a handful of Greek warriors, led by the Spartan king Leonidas. The Greek morale, far from being crushed, was invigorated. The Battle of Thermopylae, despite its outcome, became a beacon of hope for the Greeks. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans had not been in vain. It had shown the Greeks that the Persians could be resisted, could be defeated. No longer was the Persian army an invincible force. They had been bloodied, they had been defeated, and they had been shown to be mortal. The high Persian losses at Thermopylae had a profound impact on the subsequent battles. The Greek navy, inspired by the heroism of their compatriots at Thermopylae, managed to defeat the Persian fleet at the Battle of Salamis. This was a crushing blow for the Persians, who had expected a swift and easy victory. The Greek navy, using superior tactics and inspired by the memory of Thermopylae, was able to inflict heavy losses on the Persian fleet. The Greek victories did not stop there. At the Battle of Plataea, the Greeks again managed to defeat the Persian forces. This time, the Persian king Xerxes was forced to retreat. The combination of the high losses at Thermopylae, the defeat at Salamis, and the loss at Plataea was too much for the Persian forces to bear. The dream of conquering Greece was over. The echoes of Thermopylae reverberated through the ages. The Battle of Thermopylae, despite being a tactical defeat, became a symbol of courage and resistance against overwhelming odds. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his Spartans inspired not only their contemporaries, but also future generations. The Battle of Thermopylae became a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Greeks. Even today, the story of Thermopylae inspires people all over the world. The courage and sacrifice of the Spartans have become legendary, a symbol of the potential that lies within each of us when we are faced with insurmountable odds. The echoes of Thermopylae continue to resonate, reminding us that victory does not always lie in winning the battle, but in the courage and determination with which we fight. Thus, the Battle of Thermopylae, though a tactical defeat, became a strategic victory for the Greeks and a testament to the human spirit's indomitable courage.